Good morning and welcome to Wedgwood Community Church. We are glad that you are all here with us this morning. We like to begin our service with our announcements before we go to the more focused part of our service. So we will go straight to the announcements for today. Announcements and upcoming events for Wedgwood Community. Next Sunday, February the 7th, Liz will be speaking and presenting a program on anti-racism. We hope that you will join us for this very important service. Sunday, February the 14th, Reverend Dorothy Smart will bring us a message of love, so we look forward to that. Thursday, February the 4th at 7 o'clock, our Social Justice Book Club meets. We meet every 2 weeks on Thursday, and we're starting a brand new book, so this is a great time to join us. Begin Again, James Baldwin's America, and its Urgent Lessons for Our Own by Eddie Glaude. We hope you'll join us for that. The link is posted on our Facebook page, or you can contact the church for the link. Two other groups that were meeting at the church but are now meeting virtual, Humanianity and the Philosophy Discussion Group, and all that information is posted on our Facebook page, or you can contact Bill Van Fleet for more information. We talked about this program last week through the United Way of the Central Carolinas. You can receive emails daily with information, podcasts, articles, videos, and more on the subject of racial equity. But I thought that I would mention today, this program, especially on Monday, that is through that program of racial equity. Rose Hamid is president of the Muslim Women of the Carolinas, and she is a good friend of Wedgwood. She has spoken at Wedgwood Church a number of times, and we just love having her. She will be leading a discussion on racial equity, 7:30 to 8:30, February the 1st, and you can tune into it through the links in your newsletter as well as on our Facebook page. At one time, the women of Wedgwood had a monthly meeting with some of the women from the Muslim Women of the Carolinas for the topics of discussion. This is a wonderful opportunity to join in a timely conversation. We need your help. We are still working with Queen City Assisted Living Project to adopt a resident. If you need more information on that, contact Travis Friot. A number of our members have done that. These are residents who really don't have any family members and just need a good friend. Please complete the form that you have been sent in every newsletter and is on our Facebook page. We must update our records with new information. Even if you think your information has not changed, please complete the form and give us your complete information. The Constitution Revision Committee met this past week and will be meeting again on Thursday, February the 25th at 6:30. You are welcome to join us. Just contact me and I will give you the link and information that we've already covered in our last meeting. We have other committees that are forming. Church service planning, we need technology help, social justice, and stewardship. Just contact the church and let us know you are interested in being a part of one of those committees. The Social Justice Committee is going to be meeting in the next couple of weeks, so please contact us if you're interested in being a part of that committee this week. One thing we want to focus on, also something new, we've had a number of families showing interest in Wedgwood, and we want to do more to include families, children, and youth programs. So we're going to be working on that going forward. Liz works with teenagers and children in her professional career, so she's going to take the lead on that. If you're interested in helping work with forming programs for children and youth, please contact Liz through the Wedgwood Church email site. Right now, everything will be over Zoom, so we appreciate anybody's help and input that has an interest in that area. Church giving is necessary, even though we're on Zoom. We have bills to pay, so we really need your regular financial support. There are a number of ways that you can give to Wedgwood. One is by mailing your offering to Wedgwood Church. And if you want that gift to go specifically to the food pantry, please, in the 4-line, write food pantry. Otherwise, it will go to help pay our expenses as a church community. You can give by text. Once you set this up, it's very simple, and it's very simple to set up. It takes about 3 minutes. And you can also Venmo us at Wedgwood Church. Our food pantry remains open every Wednesday night, 5:30 to 6:30. We need your financial support for that, and we need your volunteering time. We also need donations. You can bring donations to our location here, 3520 DeWitt Lane, on Wednesdays. You can drop it off at my home any day, or if you want to call us or let us know you need it picked up, we'll come by and pick it up. So I live in the Cotswold neighborhood, so if you're on that side of town and don't want to drive over to South End where the food pantry is, just drop by my house and I'll be happy to take it. These are some of the items that we still need in the food pantry, although anything that is considered a staple is certainly welcome, and ramen noodles are always welcome. We thought we had plenty of those, but we actually ran out of them. So that's another item that you can donate. But we appreciate your help in keeping our food pantry going. We are feeding a lot of families. Anytime you need to contact the church, we are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. You can message us there. We have a brand new webpage. If you have not checked it out, please do. You may email us at the church, or you may call. But we look forward to hearing with you with suggestions, ideas. If you have a social justice project that you think would be good for the church to look at and consider doing, please let us know. We are here to serve the community and do what we can to help people, especially during this time of COVID. Any other suggestions that you have, please don't hesitate to contact us and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Now we'll go to our prelude.
I have a dream of what I wanna be. I wanna be free. That's what my heart keeps telling me. Give me your hand.
We'll find a way.
There's people out there
that feel the same.
if we help each other, I just know we can succeed. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny. And we are unity. We are unity.
I do believe, oh I believe in destiny. It's up to me to make it into reality.
Give me your
find a way
People out there
that feel the same.
if we help each other,
I just know we can succeed.
we are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny that we are unity. No matter where you're from or who you are, we can find a common place to be that we are friends. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. Oh. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same oceans. We are every boy and girl. Come together and share our dreams. We'll be amongst the stars, and we know that it's destiny that we are unity. We are
All right. Common ground and unity is what Wedgwood community is really about. Wedgwood is a liberal, culturally diverse, justice-focused community with members who are progressive Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, pagan, atheist, agnostic, and many other journeys and perspectives. We have no creed other than the words in our extravagant welcome. We strive to be a non-judgmental place where all people, regardless of religious belief or non-belief, can be respected, and we can find common ground and work together to be the best people that we can be and to make the world a better place for others. When we say everyone is welcome at Wedgwood, we truly mean everyone. We hope you'll join us as we try to change the world. Thomas, Donna, and LaWanda will lead us in our extravagant welcome. And at the end, we all join in saying, we are all welcome here.
We are all welcome here.
Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equity, and the care of Mother Earth.
An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender, identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders.
Like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story.
We are
all
welcome here.
And we are all welcome here. We're glad everyone's here today. All right. This is a time that we talk about praise reports, great things that have happened this week, needs that people have, concerns that people have. And I will tell you that Vicki Ayers is having very severe back problems, and they have come back to Charlotte to get another MRI. So Chris said for us to send some positive healing thoughts her way this morning. I talked to Mimi. She's fine. She's just at home. So are there any other great things that have happened this week that we want to share, or concerns that we all need to think about?
I have a praise. So, Wedgwood is a part of Mecklenburg Interfaith Ministries, and it's people from all walks of life. And I attend the meeting every week virtually. And on Friday, someone reached out who had attended that meeting from Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. And when I say that the food pantry's got some big deliveries coming in, I mean it, because next week they are going to be providing us between 10 and 15 25-pound boxes of non-perishables for the food pantry, which is incredible. So Nate and I are going to go pick it up and bring it to the food pantry. I know I'm still just in such awe of how the Charlotte community continues to come together in so many different ways. So I'm just really excited. So we're going to need, and not this week, but next week, we're going to need lots of help unloading and unpacking, and we're going to feed a lot of people with that food.
And that is just such a prime example of what Wedgwood is about, that a Friendship Missionary Baptist Church would be supporting a Wedgwood food pantry with our unique perspectives on life. So that's what we're striving for. Any other praise or concern? Okay, we use this a few minutes to kind of sit in quiet. If you believe in prayer, you can use it as a prayer time. If you believe in meditation, a meditation time, or a time of self-reflection on your week or the week ahead, or yourself and perhaps things you want to change about yourself. But however you want to do it, we just like to sit in quiet together for a few moments. So we'll do that now.
Do you want me to put the meditation music on?
If you want to.
Okay.
Thank you. That music could just take you away.
It does take you away.
We welcome all of our visitors this morning, and Kyle. I met Kyle when I just accidentally came across a short video he had done about secular morality. I am on the Facebook page for Charlotte Atheists and Agnostics, and I happened to come across this video, and I thought, Wedgwood, we need to hear this and more at Wedgwood, because we do have agnostic and atheist members. I consider I was raised Christian, but I lean more agnostic at this time. And I was intrigued also by all that the Charlotte Atheist and Agnostic groups do to make the world and our community better. It's very impressive. Kyle was raised Methodist and has been an atheist for 9 years. He is the development officer for Charlotte Atheists and Agnostics and a leader for Atheists Helping the Homeless. Charlotte Atheists and Agnostics is a non-profit and non-profit, P-R-O-T-H-E-T, organization whose mission is to create and foster a close-knit community of non-believers and to put a positive face on atheism through education, public outreach, and community service. By profession, Kyle is a math tutor, and he's also volunteered at the Wedgwood Food Pantry. And Kyle, we welcome you to Wedgwood Community this morning.
Well, Melba, thank you so much for having me.
Kyle will speak, and then we'll have time for questions and discussion after.
All right, well, Melba and everyone else, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Let me share my screen. All right, so like Melba said, so Charlotte Atheists and Agnostics is a nonprofit group, and yeah, today we're going to be talking about secular morality. Where do atheists get their morals? This might seem like a silly question to some, but it's a question that I've gotten before. If you're an atheist, then where do you get your morals? So we're going to be talking about that today. First, I want to put in a plug. Like Melba said, I'm also a leader with the group Atheists Helping the Homeless. Our 501c3 name is Charity Beyond Belief. So our website is thecbb.org. That's for Charity Beyond Belief. Yeah, if you're interested in joining us or just making a donation, we'd of course love to have you at one of our events, and we'd appreciate any support you could give. But yeah, since we're talking about atheists having morals, this is the best example I could come up with for atheists having morals. People doing, working together to do moral things and help the community. So yeah, here's what we're going to be talking about today. First, some definitions, just to make sure we're all on the same page. A poll, I have a question for all of you. Then we're going to talk about the history of non-secular morality, the birth of secular morality, and secular morality today. Then we'll revisit those poll results. So since we're talking secular morality, I figured we'd start by defining the word secular morality. Like I said, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So morality is concerned with the principles or rules of right conduct or the distinction between right and wrong. That seems pretty straightforward. And also lists ethical as a synonym, but that one I'm not sure I agree with, because actually in CAA we had a discussion several months ago about whether morals and ethics are the same thing. We decided that morals are more your personal principles and ethics are external rules. We were wondering if there's any case where something was moral yet unethical, or vice versa. We thought maybe slavery was an example, because several hundred years ago maybe that was considered ethical just because it was accepted by everyone. But maybe it was still immoral because some people considered it wrong. So yeah, because of this distinction, I'm going to be trying to steer clear of the word ethical and sticking with moral today, because we're talking about where we get our personal principles. Secular is just relating to worldly things or to things that are not regarded as religious or spiritual. So if I say non-secular, that means things that are regarded as religious or spiritual. Now, atheist, this is a tricky one. Even within the atheist community, this one is ironically heavily debated. But so I'm going to use the definitions that we've accepted at CAA. If somebody says that they're an atheist, all you can conclude from that is that they're not a theist. Now, some atheists believe that there is no God. Some atheists are certain that there is no God. But if somebody says that they're an atheist, again, all you can conclude is that they're not a theist. So everyone, by definition, is either a theist or an atheist. Now, I personally don't accept any God claims, but I also wouldn't say that I believe that there is no God. So if you tell me you have an even number of dollars in your wallet and I say, I don't know if I believe you, I don't think you counted, then that doesn't mean I believe you have an odd number of dollars in your wallet. I simply don't hold a stance on that. So similarly, theism and atheism, I don't hold a stance on whether there is a God. But since I'm not a theist, that makes me an atheist. Now, some people say, wait, doesn't that make you agnostic? So let's talk about the difference just briefly between atheist and agnostic. So theism and Gnosticism are answers to different questions. I'm sure you'd agree that there are things that you believe, and then a subset of that is things that you know, things that you're certain of. So atheism addresses your belief in whether or not you believe in a God. Now, if you're Gnostic, that means that you're certain of your theistic or atheistic beliefs. And if you're agnostic, that just means you're not Gnostic. That means you have theistic or atheistic beliefs, but you wouldn't claim certainty of those. So this diagram that I have here, the famous quadrants that a lot of people in the atheist community have seen, they list the 4 quadrants, whether you're theist or atheist, whether you're Gnostic or agnostic. Now, I personally am an agnostic atheist. So like I said, I don't believe there is a God, but I don't claim any certainty of that. As Melba mentioned, I was raised Methodist and baptized and confirmed in the United Methodist Church. Christianity was an important part of my life up through college, I'd say. In fact, in my fraternity house, I led a Bible study. So yeah, a lot of my frat brothers have been surprised to hear that I'm now an atheist. But yeah, that changed about 9 or 10 years ago. Long story, I could have another 20, 25-minute discussion telling my story about how I became an atheist. But yeah, one important distinction that I make, I didn't decide to be an atheist. I realized that I was an atheist because I think you can't choose your beliefs. I think your beliefs choose you. So yeah, again, I didn't decide to be an atheist. In fact, when I realized that I was one, it scared me. I tried hanging on to my Christian beliefs, but I just couldn't make myself do it. I'm sure some of you miss believing in Santa Claus because that was fun to do. But if you can't unring that bell. You can't make yourself believe in Santa Claus just because it was fun. Also, for those of you who are Christians, if you wanted to stop believing in Jesus, could you make yourself do it? I'm guessing you couldn't. So yeah, like I said, you can't choose your beliefs. So going back to this diagram, I had been an agnostic theist, so even as strong as my beliefs were, I never claimed certainty of God, and now I'm an agnostic atheist. So a question for all of you. You can answer in the chat, and we can revisit these answers later. So where do you get your personal morality? Or quite simply, why do you do good? And along with it, I relisted I put the quadrant diagram back. So along with your answer to the question, if you could list which of these 4 quadrants you fall into, if you're an agnostic atheist like myself, or if you fall into one of the other 3 categories, that way we can compare what different categories of people had to say about this. So again, answer in the chat, where do you get your personal morality and why do you do good? We can revisit that later. A couple secular moral frameworks that I wanted to discuss. Of course, there are many, but there are just 3 that I wanted to touch on. If you're a free thinker, that means you believe opinion should be formed on the basis of science, logic, and reason, and should not be influenced by authority or tradition. That one seems pretty straightforward. Secular humanism. Secular humanists essentially believe that you can be good without a God. So that doesn't mean that they don't believe in God, but simply that you can be good without one. Now, going back to my upbringing, I was raised as a Christian, like I said, but I was also raised to be a free thinker. I was raised to come to my own conclusions about the world and about what was right and wrong. I was, of course, taught by my parents what was right and wrong, but they encouraged me to form my own beliefs about such things. Also, talking more about my background, I was taught to believe in God and I was taught to be a good person, but those beliefs, or those teachings rather, were not linked. I was taught to be a good person simply because it was the right thing to do. So because of that, I think that's why when my religious beliefs changed, my principles did not. Because I wasn't being a good person for God, I was being a good person because it was the right thing to do. So I think that's why my secular morality stuck. See, a third one, this one I don't subscribe to personally, consequentialism, the theory that human actions derive their moral worth solely from their outcomes or consequences. So essentially, the ends justify the means, saying that if what you did had a good consequence, then what you did must have been moral. If what you did had a bad consequence, then what you did must have been immoral. Now, I wouldn't call myself a consequentialist because I believe that your intentions do matter. I think you can do something moral, even if the outcome isn't what you expected. Even if things go badly, that doesn't mean that what you did was immoral. Now let's talk some history. The history of non-secular morality. So for thousands of years, religion has had a monopoly on the discussion of morality. So the oldest example I could find was the 42 Principles of Ma'at, over 3,000 years old, listed in the Papyrus of Anai. Anai was the goddess of truth, morality, and justice. And the 42 principles included affirmations such as, I have not committed sin, I have not committed robbery, I have not stolen, I have not slain men and women. So they sound similar to the Ten Commandments to me. But even way back then, these things weren't written, these things weren't being taught as things to do just because they're the right thing to do. They were being taught, they were taught to do these things to appease this particular goddess. So even back then, religion, even back then, morality was non-secular. Christianity and Judaism picked up where that left off. As I'm sure you know, Christianity teaches that, well, I should say the Bible teaches that you can't be good without God. I'm sure there are many Christians who disagree with that, but yes, the Bible, even the New Testament says, none is righteous, no, not one. So talking about that we can't be good without God. Things changed during the Age of Reason, or the Enlightenment, which was an intellectual and philosophical movement in the 17th and 18th centuries. It preached, among other things, that the evidence provided by your senses should be your primary source of knowledge, meaning that you should think for yourself, come up with your own conclusions instead of listening to a holy book or a holy leader. It also preached the separation of church and state. I could have another 20-minute discussion about the Age of Reason, but it was made possible by the invention of the printing press. And I say that because, as we can see, here's a graph listing publications by decade. And so up until this point, the only teachings that were passed down from generation to generation were religious teachings. So starting with the invention of the printing press, everything, even secular writings, could be passed down through generations, and and could be taught to new generations. So the Age of Reason started in about 1640, and we can see that there was a spike in the 1640s on this list of publications. So there are a few particular people I want to talk about. Of course, these are three of many people that I could talk about. René Descartes. So remember I said that there was that spike in the 1640s? Well, Descartes printed his Provisional Morality in 1637, so I'm sure many copies were made during that boom in the 1640s. He listed his three maxims, which when I first came across these, I assumed that there are going to be rules on ways to live, but they're more rules on how to come up with your own rules to live, such as, so the first is to obey the laws and customs of my country, adhering firmly to the faith in which I had been educated from my childhood. So he's saying the first source of morality can be the laws of your country and the laws of the faith in which you were raised. The second is be as firm and resolute in my actions as I was able. So essentially, whatever you're going to do, don't do it halfway. If you're going to pick a moral code, you should stick to it. Immanuel Kant wrote The Groundwork on the Metaphysics of Morals in 1785. He said that the rightness of an action is determined by the principle that a person chooses to act upon. So it sounds like he agrees with me that he's not a consequentialist, because he believes that the morality of an action is defined by the principle that you chose when you took that action. He talked about there were hypothetical imperatives, which are which deal with specific circumstances, like if I'm thirsty, I should drink water. If I want to pass this test, I should study for it. Those are hypothetical imperatives. And Kant talked about the importance of categorical imperatives, which are rules that you should always stick to, regardless of the circumstance. Things about the well-being of others, or the well-being of yourself for that matter. So he was preaching secular morality back in 1785. Einstein, he came around after the age of reason, but I still figured he was worth putting in this category. He said, a man's ethical behavior should be based effectually on sympathy, education, and social ties and needs. No religious basis is necessary. I think that gets to the heart of where secular morality comes from. He lists the sources here: sympathy, education, and social ties and needs. So for many people, secular and non-secular, I think they would say that that's where their ethical behavior comes from. He goes on to say, man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be restrained by fear of punishment and hopes of reward after death. So I think that gets to the heart of why secular morality is important, or rather a flaw in non-secular morality. So if somebody says that they're only doing good out of fear of punishment or hope of reward, then that's not truly morality. So some more recent examples. So Penn Jillette, you may know him as a magician, but he's also famous in the atheist community. He said, morality is not attached to God. Being an atheist does not mean not having morality, it means having morality. Because if you are doing something for reward or punishment, it is not morality. It is fear or it is greed, but it is not morality. So he echoes what Einstein was saying about if your intentions are simply to be rewarded or because you're afraid of hell, then that's not morality. So yes, like you said, being an atheist does not mean not having morality, it means having morality. Gillette also said something interesting about a question that I've gotten, similar to the question of where I get my morals. People ask me, if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God, then why don't you just go out and do whatever you want? Why don't you just go out and do all these horrible things? And again, similar to the first question, that seems like a silly question to me. I've just never understood it, because again, my principles are not attached to my religious beliefs. I do good things because it's the right thing to do. Also, as far as all these horrible things, I just don't have a desire to do those things. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was never being restrained by religious beliefs. I just don't desire to hurt people. And Gillette said, people who say, if you don't believe in God, what's stopping me from raping and killing everyone I want to? And the answer is, I have raped and killed everyone I want to, and the number is 0. I want to rape and kill no one because it's morally wrong. So yeah, I agree with Gillette on that. Ricky Gervais, another name from the entertainment world. He said, Christians don't have a monopoly on good. And he went on to say, let's see, I'm not a Christian, but I live my life in a good way. And some say, well, who says what good is? Well, you know what? I do. I'm good to people because it's the way I want to be treated, and I don't believe I'll be rewarded in heaven. So he's talking about the golden rule, essentially, and he also tacks onto the end there the fact that, like Einstein and Gillette said, he's doing good things not because not because he'll be rewarded in heaven, but just because it's the right thing to do. Daniel Dennett, a philosopher and cognitive scientist, he said that the idea that you need God to be good is a myth, is not just a pervasive myth, but a harmful myth. And he believes that religion uses this myth to control people. He says people want to be good. They want to lead good lives. So then along come religions that say, well, you can't be good without God, to convince people that they have to do this. So if people want to be good, and if they believe that you can't be good without God, then it stands to reason that they need God and they need religion. So Dennett was saying that this is a myth that religion uses to control people. Sam Harris, a philosopher and neuroscientist, that's a name you may know. He gave a TED Talk called Science Can Answer Moral Questions. I would definitely suggest looking it up. It's about an hour long, but it's worth it. He said that values are a kind of fact. They are facts about the well-being of ethical creatures. So a lot of people think that just because morality is secular necessarily means that it's subjective, that there are different answers to all these questions about what's right and wrong. But especially when it comes to the well-being of others, like raping, killing, stealing, he believes that science can answer these questions, that there are right and wrong answers to these moral questions. Matt Dillahunty, this is another big name in the atheist world. He talks about, he gives a speech called The Superiority of Secular Morality. So he talks about it, secular morality not just existing, but being superior to non-secular morality. He talks about, he gives 6 reasons that that secular morality is superior. I won't get into all of them, but one of them is the flexibility or robustness of secular morality. He says that that non-secular morality is by definition inflexible because it's based on what a God or a holy book says that you should do. And since those books don't change, then morality shouldn't either. But even though it claims to be inflexible, I think a lot of non-secular morality has been flexible. The church has changed its stance on many things over the years, like, you know, not to keep going back to slavery, but slavery for one. The church used to say that slavery was okay. People used to point to the church's approval on that, and there are Bible verses which do condone it. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Christian anymore who just because the Bible says it, just because the Bible says it's okay, believe that slavery is okay. So non-secular morality, even though it claims to be inflexible, does seem to have taken on a flexibility, the flexibility that secular morality has. Animal altruism. This is something else that I could make a whole presentation about. If animals have a sense of morality, which it seems that they do, but if animals have a sense of morality, it stands to reason that secular morality must exist, because animals aren't aware of even the potential existence of a God. So obviously they're not doing things to appease God. They're doing things because it's built into them in some sense. So it did make me think about morality from, well, just to give an example, apes will voluntarily open a door to offer a companion access to food, even if they lose part of it in the process. So yeah, it's, when people think about evolution, they think about things that benefit the individual over the society or the community as a whole. But it seems that evolutionarily, there are things built into us that make us want to help others and worry about the community, even at the expense of ourselves. So in evolutionary biology, an organism is said to behave altruistically when its behavior benefits other organisms at a cost to itself. And some examples of that, vampire bats, they'll regurgitate blood to bats who have not been fed. Social insects, as you know, will protect the queen, even if it costs them their own lives. Vervant monkeys will sound an alarm if a predator is nearby, even though that might alert the predator to its own presence. So all these animals are capable of doing things for the sake of the community, even at a cost to themselves. So again, if animals are capable of doing these things, it stands to reason that it's built into us as well in an evolutionary way. Okay, let's check out our answers to the poll. I won't be able to go through all of them, but I'll scroll through real quick. Doing good is the right thing to do. Okay. Personal morality comes from personal history, teaching, education, and heart. I like that. That's from an agnostic theist. Okay, thank you, Donna. Don't believe that religion is required to be a moral person. Another atheist. Morality comes from reasoning and information. Okay. From Melba, who's a theist. Morality comes from an inner conscience of right and wrong. I like that. We get our morals from our parents. I'd agree with that. That's from another theist. Okay. So it sounds like atheists and theists are getting our morals from the same place. So those of you theists who were curious where atheists get their morals, it sounds like the answer is from the same place as you. So here are some atheist answers from a poll that I took earlier. E.T. said, I do good because I want to live in a world full of good people. Sandeep said, seeing people suffer, I can empathize. I do not want them to suffer. Julie took a consequentialist view. I don't define things by good or bad, but by whether they cause harm. Elisa talked about the source of her morality, which was her parents, her environment, and her education. Amber said, I do good because it makes me feel good, gives me a purpose in life. I like that. Luke said he bases his morality on the golden rule. And Sean said, I do good because I would like to be treated the same. As for my personal answer, my mother passed away in 2013. Here's a picture of the two of us when I was 2. Yeah, that's me. I was blonde for some reason when I was younger. But yeah, I still to this day. In fact, Friday was the 8-year anniversary of her passing. But so yeah, I still to this day often think about what would mom have done? What would mom have me do? Or if I'm stuck in a moral dilemma, I think, okay, if I was able to call mom later and tell her about this, would she be proud of what I had done? So yeah, I've always gotten my morals from my family, like many others said. There's some more recent pictures of my family. So yeah, I learned my morals from them as I was growing up, and now to this day, I often think, what would my family have me do in this situation? That usually points me towards what the moral thing to do would be. Okay, that's my presentation. Thank you all for having me, and thank you for your help with the poll.
Thank you for sharing.
Hey,
Let's see.
question,
Yeah.
conversation anybody has? You know, I really struck with me where someone had said in there that Christians aren't the only people thinking about being good. But that's not the way I see many of people in the world today, and especially from the Christian faith, that they have all the answers. And I honestly feel, and I say this from a couple family members, that I wonder what they would be like if they didn't have the threat of hell or heaven hanging over their head. It's like they need that. And I don't understand why you need that to be a good person, because I consider myself agnostic, theist based on what you said. But as you went through your presentation, I realized more that my morality really came from my parents, who were Christians, but they were progressive, more liberal Christians. They weren't literal translation and all this other stuff. But I see it so different today, and I hate to keep saying this, but with the Christian community in this country. And I don't know if anybody else thought of that or not, but that was a wonderful presentation, and I totally agree with everything you said. And I think as atheists and agnostic and Christians and Muslims and whoever we are, we get our morals from the same place. It's who we are. It's bottom who we are. Our religion really doesn't have a whole lot to do with it if we're on the right path. If we're on the right path.
And for people who claim that their religion does give them their morality, I think they're not giving themselves enough credit. I think if they were to change their religious beliefs, their principles probably wouldn't change that much.
Kyle, I didn't answer any of the survey because I wanted to listen to you, and I have a hard time writing and listening because I might miss something. But
okay.
I really wasn't sure what I was until you explained it in that PowerPoint. And I believe that I've been this way since I was a little girl, since I was small. I didn't know about God, but I felt inside of me that I want to do good. I have to do good. It was already there. Like when I was little, I would, for whatever reason, I couldn't stand to see animals being hurt or abused, or they're out in the street and they don't have any shelter. So I would go around and and get the dogs. They weren't many, but in my life, my childhood, I would get the dogs and bring them home. And my mom said, listen, you can't bring home any more dogs. But I had to, just like, Mom, I have to. And she kept saying, you can't save the world. You can't save the world. I said, well, I can, just one puppy at a time, you know. But in my mind, in my soul, I felt like that was already there. I didn't, no one said they'll do good or be this way. It was already there. I already felt that, you know.
Right.
So I don't know what that is. Is that agnostic or what? But that's what I felt. I felt already what I was supposed to do, what was right to do, what, like, my body already said, my soul already said that this is the right thing to do. This is the right way to act. No, you're not supposed to do that. No, that's not nice. My mind and body is speaking to me, saying this. No one had to tell me that, you know.
Would say, I would call you a human.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I wrote a poem in 2005, and Liz asked me to post it on the Facebook page, but part of that is we live in a shared moment, and one of our objectives, or at least my objectives, is to make the shared moment larger. Always make the shared moment larger. And I do believe in reincarnation, and consequently I believe in God, because they go together.
Yeah.
But everything is a lot. All that is now, and everything is a lot. And I don't know how it all works. There's mysteries. But I'm willing to accept being mystified.
I know if there is reincarnation, I want to come back as my cat.
I want to come back.
The life of a king.
I want to come back as a baby, because
You will. You will.
like another baby and that family that gives you a whole lot of love. Because I feel like I didn't get a whole lot of love and kisses and all that. So I want to come back and start over as a baby with a family that would give a lot of kisses and hugs.
I came back into a family that was Lutheran, and one of the consequences of that, I had to memorize Luther's small catechism. And then I had to take a test before the entire church as to whether my rote memory was adequate before they would confirm me. It was really painful. And it made me question, you know, the whole notion of Lutheranism.
Kyle, thank you so much for your informative and wonderful presentation. I wanted to ask you one thing, and then maybe also a request. In terms of defining atheism, I'm wondering about strange people like myself who feel kind of fluid. Some days I feel I'm an atheist, depending on what's happening. Some days I feel like I'm an agnostic, and some days I'm a theist. But always, while I'm a theist, I think there's a strong case against God. I'm never a theist without believing there's a strong case against God. So I feel like I'm all over the map.
Okay. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change your mind.
Daily.
Yeah, there are some people that hear questions like that and say, well, it sounds to me like you fit into this category or that category. But I think it's important that people can define themselves however they want to. So
Yeah.
If I could comment on that just briefly, I consider myself both agnostic and atheist, and I've heard people argue with me that I can't be both. But for me, it depends on the definition of God. I mean, if we define God as some external force that exists in the universe, exists on a different plane of existence than we do, then I'm agnostic. It's like Russell's teapot. There could be giant teapot orbiting, Jupiter, and nobody knows whether or not that teapot exists. But it really doesn't have any impact on my life, whether it does or not. And that entity may exist and may not care whether we exist. If that is the definition of God, then I'm agnostic. I don't know one way or the other if that entity exists, and again, it has really no impact on my life one way or the other. On the other hand, if we define God as the way that, in the terms of the doctrine of the Abrahamic religions, then I am a Gnostic atheist, because Christian doctrine defines God, says that God is omnipotent and omniscient. It's impossible to be both. And it's because if God is omniscient, then he cannot change his mind. If I say that I know that I'm going to the library tomorrow, forget how I know that, but let's just assume that I do. It's now impossible for me to not go to the library tomorrow. It's impossible for me to change my mind, or something come up, or have a flat tire, or whatever that would prevent me from going to the library. Because if that were the case, then there's no way that I could know today that I'm going to go to the library tomorrow. Additionally, I refuse to acknowledge the existence of a loving, benevolent, kind God that murders children. And the case for God's cruelty is strewn throughout the Bible. You don't have to look very, very far to find evidence of the capriciousness and cruelty and jealousy of God. And that is not the same as benevolent and kind and loving and good. So in that case, I'm a Gnostic atheist. Thank you.
Just a personal story of my brother, who passed away at 47, was the most moral person with the most empathy I ever knew, and a devout atheist. And he did not want a funeral at my parents' church. I mean, when I grew up in the church, it was much more moderate and progressive. And by the time he grew up, there were 8 years difference in our age. It had become more conservative, and he just But when he died, before my parents died, I finally came to the agreement that he would have empathy for my parents, and they really wanted the service in the church. So I think we did well by him.
We did, but for the record, in his suicide note, he requested that the funeral be at Wedgwood, and that always meant a lot to me.
Yeah, but my parents wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Yeah,
and they weren't well enough to travel to Wedgwood.
Yeah.
So we set some parameters about, not reading scripture, not having, we didn't let my parents' minister really speak except to welcome people. And then we spread his ashes.
Yeah.
At Mount Mitchell and Road Mountain. But I don't know a more moral person I've ever met.
Chris, do you mind sharing the story of the funeral that we had at Wedgwood that nobody else in Charlotte would host?
Yeah. And being an old guy, my Rachel, I'm trying to think of her last
Let me
name.
say, Chris is the former minister of Wedgwood, but
Yeah, she's the person that got run over by the Israeli tank defending Palestinians. Rachel, and I can't think of her last name. And there's a tree on our property that they planted. Unfortunately, I had to be out of town at the time of the funeral. But we've had several funerals at the church that other people didn't want to host.
She was an atheist as well, and her parents were as well. But she stood up for the Palestinians, and so obviously a lot of morality, and it just shocked us that that churches wouldn't let her family have a service of remembrance because of their beliefs. It was just, that's not how you treat people. You don't treat people that way,
Right.
who are suffering grief and loss. You welcome them and you have empathy, and doesn't matter what, that doesn't matter. You do the right thing.
They probably thought that they were, which is the sad thing. They
Well,
probably.
Yeah, I think where this is the struggle I have with organized religion and Christianity. As my mother said, you can teach a parrot to say, I believe in Jesus. And you can teach a parrot to walk down the aisle. A dog to walk down the aisle. You can teach them that. And
Right.
if that's all it is, then there's, and you've checked your box, so to speak, then where is the desire for empathy and to do good and treat people fairly? And I think for some people, they've checked their box. It doesn't matter how they treat others.
Her last name is Corrie, Corrie, Rachel Corrie. And speaking of treating people well, I'm wondering if maybe sometime we could have Kyle back, or some other someone that he recommends, to talk about how atheists have not been treated well in the United States historically, both in terms of individual accounts, but also systemic prejudice against atheists in terms of state constitutions, federal constitution, that kind of stuff, laws.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
Hal and I did mention that about what it's like to come out as an atheist, but there was so much to cover. I'm glad you said that, because we'll have Kyle back at another time, and we hope everybody will join us then.
Yeah, I actually meant to touch on that a bit. I skipped past that. When I realized that, like I mentioned, I realized I was an atheist about 9 or 10 years ago. But we knew that my mother was sick, and she didn't have much time left. She died from a neurological disorder, and her faith was very important to her. And she would ask us to sit around and pray together. And I wanted her to still feel that we were all on the same team. So even though I knew I was an atheist, I decided to keep it to myself for a bit, because it was just going to be a year or two. I figured I could do that for her. So after she passed, a few months later, I finally told my family, and they were surprised at first, but they're good with it now. In fact, they're on right now. My dad and stepmom are on the call right now. Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody. We're proud.
Hi. There they are.
Thanks for coming.
You're very welcome.
And let me say, Lakewood is a church that welcomes everyone. Each of us, you wouldn't find two people on this Zoom that have the same beliefs. I mean, we're all at totally different places. We don't have any conservative Christians, but we have progressive Christians, I would call it. But it's all about respecting each other's beliefs. And
Right.
even if you think my beliefs are nutso, you respect my right to believe that, as long as I don't push my beliefs on you.
And as
And
long
that's
as
kind
no
of,
one's hurting each other, as long as
yeah,
no one's hurting each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that we can find the common ground of morality, of
Right.
doing what's right, and work on that, and not worry about the details of who believes what. And when we talk of prayer, for some people, it is praying to your theist, they pray to a God. Meditation, just reflecting, just thinking about yourself, your life, who you are, your conscience, what your week is. So we look at that in totally different ways. We look at, when we say God, God means different things to different people. I don't think there's anybody here that believes it's a little man sitting up on a cloud. But we all have different definitions of God, and it may be the science of earth, it may be our own conscience, but we use terms in very flexible ways that you apply them to how you feel. And God may just be yourself, your inner conscience of morality, like we talked about today. So we welcome everybody to Wedgwood and do hope that you'll come back. And now Ashanti will.
I just want to say thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much for breaking it down as ABC 1, 2, 3 with colors and all that, because it goes into my brain easier. So thank you for that. Thank you for our special guest coming in. Thank you for your family and everything like that. And the song that I picked, Melba said didn't have to be religious music today. So we're going to do a secular song, which is really good because it said stand up for your rights, stand up for who you are, stand up for what you believe in, just stand up. Because when you're silent, that means you're in agreement for things that are going in a negative direction. So I hope you grew up with me. Little Bob Marley, never heard anybody?
I was gonna say, are you gonna break out the Bob Marley today, Ashanti?
Yes, yeah, man.
I love it.
You hear it?
Yeah.
A little bit louder.
Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me that heaven is on the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitters is gold. Half that story has never been told, but now you see the light. You gotta stand up for your right. Come on now, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up, don't give up. Stand up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Ja, 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 yeah. Stand up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Most people think great God will come from the sky, take away everything and make everybody feel high. If you don't know what life is worth, you should look for your earth. And now you see the light. You better stand up for your right. Come on now, get up, stand up. Come on, people now, stand up for your right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Stand up. Won't you stand up? Don't give up the fight. Don't give up now. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Come on, Liz. Don't give up the fight. Listen, we're sick and tired of the ism, schism game. Dying, go to heaven in the Jesus name, Lord. We know when we understand. Almighty God is a living man. You can't fool some people all the time, but you can't fool the people all the time. And now you see the light. So you better stand up for your right. Come on, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Come on, people now, get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up now. Won't you stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up now. Up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.
Yay.
That's right.
Beautiful, Ashanti.
Thank you.
And our closing. Let us go forth in simplicity. Let us find and walk the path that leads us to compassion and wisdom, that leads you to happiness, peace, and love. Welcome the stranger. Open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that we all share. that serves the needs of all people. Go in peace.